Pick it all up and start again. You've got a second chance, you could go home, escape it all, it's just irrelevant. It's just medicine. It's just medicine. You could still be what you want to, what you said you were when I met you. You've got a warm heart, you've got a beautiful brain, but it's disintegrating. From all the medicine, from all the medicine, from all the just medicine. You could still be what you want to, what you said you were when I met you. You've got a warm heart, you've got a beautiful brain, but it's just
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our podcast.
Sixth podcast.
Sixth
Forgot
podcast.
the number there, didn't you?
I wasn't actually going for the number, but yeah, this is our sixth podcast. And if you guys don't know, our names are Dylan and his name is Chris. And today we have two very special guests tuning in with us. We have Aditya Patel and Armaan Ebrahim with us. Guys, say hello.
Hi everybody.
What's up, everyone? Hi, Chris and Dylan.
There
What's
we
up,
go,
what's
there
up?
we go, there we go.
Chris,
What's up? Feels
before
like a
before we
special day.
continue, Chris, the volume of the laptop is too high. Yeah, number 3. Turn it down. Yeah, that's good. All right. So, guys, how are you guys doing?
Not
We're
too
good.
bad. Yeah.
Okay, we got mixed. We got mixed. Wait, did you say not too bad or not too good?
I said we're good, we're
Not
good,
too
we're
bad.
good.
Okay.
Not
okay.
too bad, and we're good. So I think it's the positive side.
Okay. So, Aditya, why don't we just start off with you real quick? And why don't you give us a little insight into your life, from when you started racing into where you guys are now with Ultimate E and X1? Why don't you just give us like a brief of that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, as a kid, I was always really curious to know what it would be like to get on a racetrack, because I used to go watch my dad race, and he used to drive these S-Teams and Fizmies back then. and crazy that people still drive S teams now. But yeah, I just used to watch him and always wonder what it would be like to get on the racetrack. But there was this rule at home, which wasn't there at Armaan's home, but where I wasn't allowed to sit in a race car till I was 16, but I could get into a go-kart. So when go-kart tracks opened up in the country, it was just something that we all did for fun. Armaan, myself, a bunch of friends. We'd go there on the weekends, and then these tracks would have all these races every now and then, so we'd participate in them. So kind of grew like this motorsport culture in us back then.
Yeah.
And as I grew older, started to participate in more serious events, not just karting but also racing when I turned 16. And then started to take it step by step. So what started out as like a weekend hobby to try and get away from doing my homework and get away from thinking about those Monday morning blues. On a Sunday evening you get that shitty feeling about Monday morning coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
Yeah. So just getting that's when I really liked to go to the kart track when I was a kid. Kind of pester my parents to take me there. And back then it was Kart Attack, and there was another one called Danny's starting. And
Where
it
is
was
that?
a Saturday evening and a Sunday evening. Danny's was on Old
Omar?
Mamapuram Road.
Yeah.
Omar, yeah. So pretty much like as the crow flies, right opposite where your house is, which is on East Coast Road, and it's just pretty much on the other side on Omar.
So like
Yeah.
past
And that was a
Chilambakam.
superb circuit. Yeah, it was 600 meters or something.
Okay.
And you had to be really good to be fast. But yeah, I think that's how it all started, and kind of grew from there to where we are now. And Armaan and I working together on not just X1 racing, but also on Ultimate E now, while everybody's locked in. It's good to keep not just us busy, but people who are sitting at home with not much to do, where we seem to be keeping them busy as well.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I have done my fair share of helping out you guys with Ultimate E. I've been there since the first week, and I can definitely tell that we have had a bunch of real racers and also drivers, gamers, come in since the first week, and yeah, I mean, it's definitely growing, and I mean. I'm gonna leave that talk for you guys to answer and give your point
We'll
on.
leave it for later.
Yeah.
Now this
So-
is just the introduction.
Yeah, I mean, Arman, what about you? Where did you start off? Obviously, Aditya said that he had a rule where he can only get into a race car when he was 16. So when did you start racing?
Well, mine was a little more abrupt. I mean, like Aditya said, we grew up, going and just spending weekends karting here and there. Actually, never used to go as much, to Danny's and Kart Attack. But it was always a hobby. Because again, as a kid, the same way as his dad did, my dad used to race in India, so we used to go watch them. And that was our weekends really. So I always thought it was going to be some sort of a hobby when I grew up. But when professional karting had actually started in India, that was when I spent a weekend there. Thoroughly enjoyed it. The next thing I know, there was an opportunity to start karting in Asia. And then one thing led to another. That whole year went by with me being part of professional karting races all across Asia. And the next year, I was in the national championship in both go-karts and cars. And from there on, the journey began. So,
Was it single seaters and or was it open wheelers or was it cars?
In 2004, I took part in single seaters in the at that time what was the premier class, which was the Formula Maruti LGB category, the 39cc. So yeah, ended up winning that, and then from there on went international and started racing abroad in various different categories of cars. Single seaters, start of single seaters, obviously. And forward a bunch of years, and here we are. We run through the X1 Racing League, X1 Esports, which you competed in, and now obviously with us locked at home, like I just said, Ultimate E. Just keeping people engaged and keeping motorsport alive, really, and going and keeping the competitive spirit going on.
I mean, you guys have a huge portfolio. Like you guys have such a big portfolio. Chris and I have this document. Of scripts, and
We saw your questions. You have way too many questions.
I'm telling you,
Not that old. I mean,
I couldn't run through all of them. I stopped halfway.
but actually, yeah, if you think of it, Armaan and I, our combined age is actually.
cut off right before the age came.
Yep.
Thank God it
Armaan's
got
40,
up.
yeah.
Surprisingly enough, it works. Yeah, it's actually the other way around, but yeah, it's fine.
So yeah, I didn't show you guys this because I only took screenshots. I didn't actually share the document with you guys. But you guys have such a big portfolio. At the end of the day, I just ended up copying and pasting.
From
Because
Wikipedia.
because I had no idea what to take down. There was just so much. That's why I was just like, these guys need to explain. I can't.
It's better you just ask us rather than just copy
Yeah,
paste.
just
Yeah,
just
for sure,
do
for
it.
sure. So I mean, obviously, coming on to
Make us uncomfortable.
make
Ooh,
you uncomfortable.
that's something
I
we
mean,
can
with the
do.
question.
Yeah, that is something we can do.
Yeah.
All right,
Just
so
you're just getting him excited out of there for no reason.
No, I mean, I just remembered what he said before we got on this call. After I said that.
Yeah, remember he's been stuck at
Just talking-
home for over a month.
yeah. Just a question. Just a question.
all right, so obviously, the first question that I think we should start off with is obviously now you guys are focusing on X1, but of course with this pandemic happening, everyone's on lockdown. I'm pretty sure that stuff has been put on hold for just a bit until lockdown ends. At least I'm pretty sure it's just been put on hold. And so let's take it back before lockdown and let's talk about how X1 came about. I mean, like, whose idea was it? Did you guys have a mutual idea about it, or did Armaan or Aditya, did you say, we should start something like this? Who's gonna take the
God's
credit,
plan.
essentially?
It was God's plan.
God's plan?
It was sent from above, to be honest, I think we were. There was one day because we work out in the same gym, and obviously we go back and forth talking on motorsport in general when we're done training, and apart from us just racing, what else can we do and to just make it more exciting, basically. And I think one day after a heavy hybrid session, which is basically a 40-minute circuit, we were both pretty dead, just sitting there, and I think the idea just fell upon us. And after just chatting about it for a couple of months, we actually sat down and put pen to paper one day. And I think that's when we said, okay, let's just do this. That's how I remember it, actually. Do you have any
Yeah,
different thoughts?
that's pretty much how it was. And also all the travel.
So you
And
guys
also
are
all
gym
the
buddies?
travel. Yeah, we're gym buddies, race
Gym
weekend
buddies.
buddies.
I was actually
Yeah.
supposed to. You guys are talking about sports
Study
dynamics. I was actually
buddies,
supposed
study
to.
buddies, gym buddies. Yeah.
They're just
Life
all around
buddies, life buddies.
Yeah.
Yeah, but also especially after our race weekends, because
Yeah.
on Sunday evening we'd catch up again because Armaan was in a different series. I was in a series, but we were at the same city, same track. And then we'd catch up over a drink or 3 or 4 or 7. And then
Seven.
that's when the ideas would really start flowing. And this kind of started to get more frequent.
Yeah.
And then eventually one day we said, let's just do it. Let's just make this happen. And just see how it goes. That's it. And yeah, we started off.
And would you say your first season? I would say season because it's not really been a year. But how was your first season of X1? Would you say it was a success? Obviously, I wasn't a part of X1 Esports, and you guys did absolutely amazing with that. I'm actually repping the merch right now, and yeah, I mean, you guys did amazing with that. But obviously, there were some technical difficulties, not only with esports side, but also the actual driving side. So, besides all of that, how was the overall X1 first season?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you're going to have some teething issues in the first season, and esports did give us its trouble every now and then, but there were times when everything ran really well, which felt good when it did. But I guess you're relying so much on technology, on connectivity, and your internet, and all that everywhere you go. And the thing is, because it was so mobile,
Yeah.
everywhere we went, we faced different issues.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
it's not like we had a setup for like 3 weeks for us to get rid of the teething issues in the first week. We had like 3 days, and the teething issues needed to be sorted out immediately. So, I mean, it was expected. But then going on to the racing league itself, we kind of had an unexpected issue with the cars. It's not something we really thought would happen the way it did, and but I guess it's motorsport at the end of the day. There's a lot of variables. Cars can give troubles. It just was more than we had really expected or wanted. And overall, apart from that, everything else actually ran pretty well. We had a great bunch of drivers. We had a great bunch of team owners. Everybody was happy. Everybody enjoyed it. It was 2 weekends of exciting motorsport action on the track, off the track. So yeah, it was a lot. And in fact, I think Armaan and I both lost a lot of weight after those 2 weeks, but um, we enjoyed it.
For sure.
Yeah, I think just to say, for whatever problem that occurred, which is expected in a startup when you're starting something off, I guess, and especially when we were just everything was back to back, but there was no breathing space. So I think the key was adapting to whatever curveball that was thrown, whether it was during the esports, during the 6 weeks of esports, or even during the 2 weeks of the racing league. Even wherever there were issues, even whether it was the cars or whatever it was, we just had to adapt to the situation. I think that perspective, we were quite quick on our feet, and that's what I think that's how we managed to come out on top, I would say,
Yeah.
But yeah, so we were associated with a great bunch of people. Like you said, the drivers had a great time. The team, we had some great team owners, and at the end, I think everyone had a good time and left satisfied, I guess,
I mean, I left satisfied, so I get what you mean.
There you go. There you go.
But I mean, something.
You haven't left. You're still around.
I'm still around. Yes, I'm waiting for season 2, so I can travel to like 4 different cities again and get penalties in all of them.
Just get it done in the first shot itself. Don't let your brother come in.
Just do it.
Oh my god. Yeah, but I mean, obviously, I was there for both Delhi's race and Chennai's race, because obviously Delhi is where we had the X1 grand finale, as well as Chennai, because I live in Chennai and my parents wanted to come watch the race as well and see how the cars were. Because it's not really a car that you really see very often. And I'm sure, if I'm not wrong, you guys were using the Formula BMW, and it's not a really new model, I would say. Is it a newer model?
No, so Dylan, basically the racing cars. Yes, the first year of this car was, it wasn't racing. It's been a while, but with racing cars, for example, if you look at Formula, if you look at a Formula 3 car or even a Formula 2 car, the teams aren't changing cars every year. They have a lifespan that they run for, and then the same chassis remains, but then you get additional parts that you keep changing basically and upgrade, so it doesn't. So these cars are still sanctioned by the FIA, and they were all certified and everything. So they were still cars that could be competitively used. Yeah, they're not brand new, but for the first year, I think they were the best option that we had. Unfortunately, like Aditya said, yes, there were more issues than we anticipated and than we've seen in the past, but it was a learning for us.
But you guys made it work at the end.
Yeah.
I mean, like the cars, besides the technical or technical problems that you had with the cars were sounded amazing. It was really fast, and like it's coming from a spectator's point of view, that was a really nice car to watch race. So I mean, besides obviously the technical difficulties, like the car was perfect for the first season. I agree with you guys on that. I'm sure that second season, you guys were obviously supposed to go for a street race. I wasn't exactly sure on what happened with that. Do you know exactly? Because there was supposed to be a street race, if I'm not wrong, for the first season in Mumbai. And there were supposed to be 3 races, right? Or 4 races?
What do you mean by 3, not 4?
I don't know. I mean, like, was there supposed to be like 3 races, like 3 different cities, for the first season?
No, we did plan to have. I think when we originally planned it, we did plan to have a 4-race series, but obviously at that point the costs were very different in terms of how much a team would have to pay. But as time went on, we realized that it's also very important to, in a country like ours, there's a lot of people who are very skeptical about the sport.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They're more, like, is motorsport the kind of sport we should get in? Because you've got Olympic sports that they have opportunities in. You've got cricket that there's multiple opportunities in from a team owner's perspective to actually buy a team in. And then you've got motorsport, where in India is still very, very niche.
Yeah.
So we had to kind of say, okay, if we really need to make this happen, we need to bring the cost down considerably. and by any standards, it was very cheap for a team owner to be able to have a car, to be able to run the race weekends, to have the drivers included, and a whole bunch of things that were included as well.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
that at that stage, that was the most important bit to us, which meant that we had to then push the street race to the future and not have it in the first year, because to run a street race itself, it costs millions.
Right.
And it would have just kind of not really let the year happen if we had kept chasing the street race. Of course, we did everything possible in terms of getting the homologation, in terms of getting the FIA to come and see the circuit and homologate it for whichever different categories, blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, for Armaan, me, and Abhi, it was just really important that we make this happen, and we did, and it ended up being a fairly good success. So we're looking forward to what the future holds. But this year, again, like you said, a lot of things are on hold. It's just, I guess, the situation is, we really don't know when things will open up, when things will ease out.
Yeah, I mean,
So
a
we
lot of
just have to
things.
wait
A
and watch.
lot of things. I mean, obviously, I'm a huge Formula One guy, and like, it's really heartbreaking to see all the races being put on hold. And obviously, they're trying to push for July, which is like really, really close. But like, even Silverstone is not holding any races with audiences this whole year. So like, there's a lot of things that are. It's just like a domino effect. As soon as one thing happens, this is cancelled, that is cancelled. Yeah, so I mean, obviously, it's really hard for Indian motorsport as well, because I'm sure everything will be put on hold for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I mean, it's a Formula One as well is on a tentative schedule. So I mean, like I just said, I think it's just about taking it one day at a time and seeing how things unfold before someone can really put a plan on pen to paper, make a plan.
So before lockdown, obviously I'm an esports guy. What were the plans for X1 esport? Because if I was not wrong, I had a conversation with you guys about this, and it was about how you guys were kind of separating the two, if I'm not wrong, meaning having esports earlier and then the race later in the year. So
what we were going to do is basically expand esports. Now so which means that we're going to have more weekends of esports. And
Okay.
we were going to have apart from having apart from finding further talent like what we did last year.
Yeah.
We were also going to use all you finalists and all you qualifiers from last year as well to do a full-blown esports league that would go around India.
Yeah.
So
Why are you
not
letting our
just-
secrets? You're letting our secrets out.
Information that will only be ever heard on this
The
podcast.
information's out. Oh no.
We're going to do it either way, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean,
But now everybody knows.
everyone who watches,
Well-
we'll make sure that we don't talk about this part. So
Yeah.
whoever watches the podcast,
It's a scoop, Dylan. You lucky guys. We've announced our plans here.
this was our plan
Well-
to announce.
Well,
Did we lose them?
Yeah, I think we lost him. Are you guys here?
nutshell, really, what we were planning to do.
Okay, there.
All right, we lost you guys for a second. All right, yeah.
Ah,
I don't know what's
Oh,
going
we're
on
here,
with the
we're here.
connectivity issues here, but we are having a bit of
You
connectivity issues. You guys there?
you live in Kanatur.
That's an issue.
Yeah.
yeah,
an
that's
issue.
the biggest issue. Our Wi-Fi options are very limited.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, obviously, so before we move on, obviously we just to recap what you said, Armaan. I actually forgot, but something to do with us and us going around and having a full-blown esports race.
No, nothing. No, nothing.
We're just gonna expand esports. That's about it.
All right, yeah, for sure. All right, so let's move on to the next thing. And obviously, we talked a lot about X1, but let's talk about what's happening now, and that's Ultimate E, of course. And I'm helping out with that as much as I can. But for the viewers, why don't you guys explain about how Ultimate E came about as well? Obviously, with coronavirus, I'm sure that was one of the things that were a factor in promoting or getting Ultimate E up.
Yeah. Honestly, ultimately, well, the plan for the concept was for us to actually kick it off in July, and this was something that we had planned in Jan Feb soon after the league got over, and we said we need to go online, and by the best time to go online would be July, August as well, leading up to season 2.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the plan, and then the lockdown kicked in and obviously caught everybody off guard. It was quite sudden,
Yeah.
so that left us without any equipment. And then we started planning, and we said we need to do something now online, because also there's Formula One that's going online, and a lot of things are happening online, and this is like the time to make it happen.
Yeah.
So that's why you also came in the picture, because Armaan and I were just caught out without any equipment. We've got Viresh and Tarun on our team who are helping as much as they can with what they've got.
Yeah.
But what made it really interesting for us is just the fact that we've got nothing. You and Armaan and I do the commentary on Discord.
Yeah.
We're streaming it. We're doing everything we possibly can to make it professionally broadcasted
Yeah.
on YouTube and Twitch, and then expand from there. But it's great actually to see what we can do with games. It's honestly, they call it sim racing. They don't call it gaming anymore, because it simulates real racing cars. The graphics are insane. We're running iRacing this weekend, and we've had some great grids so far. We've had even the likes of Naren Karthikeyan joining the grid. We had Arjun Maini, Kush Maini, Kush Maini joining in this weekend, and some great gamers as well. So